Yes, indeed. Howdy, folks. I'm Cody with IronVerse Comics. Doing something a little bit different today. So just a little bit different today. Just a little bit. What we're gonna do? Exactly. How is it going? Um, I'm gonna be talking about why what I'd really like, how I'd love to progress further with IronVerse Comics. Um, in particular, getting it to you kind folks and being able to produce it so we can get it to you kind folks. And so, with crowdfunding campaigns, now I've taken part in three, one successful. Gotta be honest, but quite a lot, uh, a lot of just the entire comic process. Gotten two issues out to public. Finally say that the campaign for Jack Irons, Steel Cowboy #1 and #2 has been fulfilled. There's a few pickups, and we're still waiting to make sure everybody's kind of heard that the books have come in and that they're all been received and the damages and such, especially overseas. But we've been seeing them starting to land all over the place. So that was the final stretch. That was it. Finally getting it out to our very kind international backers. And yeah, and since we can finally call that a success, now it's the next. We tried running a little bit fast. We did. We tried running a little bit faster with this pup here, just to see what kind of leverage we had, what kind of interest, and completely understandable where that went. But we weren't dumb about running a campaign that we kind of knew it definitely was an underdog. It's why I particularly use that a lot in its marketing. It's an underdog campaign. Um, is that we wanted to make sure we came out with something. So even though we didn't get anything through the campaign, we only made 9% of the goal, which was a pretty high goal. Jack was at 2,500 because I just wanted to fund the line art for issue number two. If I could do that, oh excuse me, oh excuse me one more time. Pardon me, folks. Sometimes the body just wants to burp. But uh, I did lose my place. That is disappointing. Um, we didn't want to come out empty-handed, and so we were producing pages for Cactus Coyote the whole time. We've already done a 40-page free manga. You can go check it out, see what we're trying to do with that. It gives you a good vibe of what. It just gives you a good vibe of what Cactus Coyote is. It does. Cactus Coyote's manga is what Jack Irons issue #1 is. It gives you the vibe of the character. It gives you some of what he can do, and the kind of story you're gonna get. Um, Planning to do that with the other three Ironverse titles in progress too. Basically, exact same kind of concept, where the first exposure you get, kind of you'll know what you'll be getting from then on out. Um, and hopefully, if you like that first bit, you'll like from there. And there will be growth. There will be changes, of course. And if we're lucky enough to continue to make quite a few, then yeah, that's going to change. It's just how it goes. But main goal would be to fund Jack Irons, the Steel Cowboys, a full five, possibly six. I'm leaning more towards 6-issue arc. His first 6-issue arc. We're already a third of the way done. It's been funded. They're going to be available publicly through Wicked Publishing. I will be putting some of the earnings from sales of that book, my percentage, towards future Jack stuff, but uh, depends on how well the book sells. If the book sells like gangbusters, publicly, and we actually have to go to print a bunch more times. Whole different story. I can maybe even just forget about all this because I'll put my money into this. It's gonna happen. I don't care. If it can feed itself, then that's where that food's gonna go. Um, but at the moment, that's not where we're at. This is exceedingly helpful. I, exceedingly helpful. Um, but yeah, so let's start with the first bit here. And what I'll get into why I don't want to do campaigns after I kind of get into the positives of doing this. And that comes with these goals. Our first goal, so right now you subscribe most levels, particularly the higher levels, you don't get anything really worth it except for the knowledge that you're helping put the frontier back into the final frontier and helping make the best of the weird space west. But you also, you get everything you get for about $5 under. Should I just go through the tiers? What should I do? I should explain why. Well, basically, that's yeah. I'll just go to the why. Boom, right here. It's this goal. If we were making this much a month, I don't care how. It doesn't have to be through Patreon. Best way I can tell is through Patreon. But if we're making this much a month, we could probably logistics, a lot of things to work out, but we can get on a schedule where we can have digital issues bi-monthly and hopefully physical issues earlier to patrons before public printing bi-monthly. So we'd have a completed digital file ready for print bi-monthly. That would be the goal uh, at this total per month. And I say it took you a year and a half to get. Well, it took us a year. No, it didn't even take us that. It took us 6 months to get Jack #1 colored and printed and shipped. So that wasn't too bad. First time I dealt with a colorist, first time I dealt with a publisher, first time I dealt with a lot of things, signing contracts, was actually still running the campaign and a lot of that too. But it took us a while to get that out. I get that. And then with issue #2, we also that took us about that year and a half. And for that's crazy. That's you don't think we can get it by month. Part of it was funding. Part of it was I couldn't secure and lock down the artist for the amount I was paying him, but he really wanted to be part of it. So that's what we did, and we worked within each other's schedules. That was part of it. Another part was we lost our colorist from the first issue due to his financial situation changing and him having to shift what his primary career focus was for a bit. Um, that sucked. I loved Matthias and his work was stellar, and so we had to look for a colorist. So there was the delays on getting pages colored while we were looking for a new colorist. And Maxie insisted that we get the right colorist. I was in a hurry, but I wasn't going to argue with the artist. And I'm so glad I didn't. And we found Stephen Cannon, or Kenyon. I'm unsure how he pronounces it. I sometimes believe I see the Enya, but I'm not sure. Anywho, um, so that was a trip. There was one vacation Maxie kind of had no ability to not take, and he was still doing layouts and stuff during it, but it wasn't a hardcore work schedule. But a lot of this was mainly due to funds, and at this amount, we'll have the fundage, and I'll be able to promise a consistent paycheck, and that's the big one. If you can get him money every week, pages, and that's not gonna stop, they're more likely to get the pages done quicker. It's just how it is when there's security to your job, and especially in the arts. And that's what a lot of this would be for. Is that's the bit. That's my issue with campaigns right there. No security. There's no way to make your teams feel comfortable that you're going to get this done until you have that money. And so it's a struggle that whole time. For Jack, it was scratching and clawing for that whole campaign period. But we got it done. We got enough to get everything colored and attracted a publisher. We got stuff printed and shipped, and we got 6 wonderful pinups, all kinds of cool stuff for about what it would cost here, the same price. So the money, once that's solved, the logistics can fall into place, and that's the big one. Is that this would make a huge difference. This would allow us to create. That's that simple. And can continue to do this. But you think that's lofty enough, and it's exceedingly lofty. It's gonna be hard to reach this, but if we can, then we'll be actually able to do everything we want to do with Jack Irons. At this, which is crazy. But at this point, we're at a legitimate business, and I can work out all the legal logistics, and we'll start releasing a comic every month. It won't be a Jack every month. It'll be like a Jack and then a cactus, and then a Jack and then a tracker, and then a Jack and then a alternating months, releasing different IronVerse Comics titles, but always a Jack on the alternating months. Um, and as I wrote right here, uh, at this point, we will be the front line in the weird space Western comics. Nobody will be keeping up with us. Nobody will be forging what we're doing and exploring indie comics how we're doing it. If you're familiar with what we have already done with Jack Irons, it's a large philosophical exploration piece, Jack Irons is. And the whole basis of IronVerse Comics comes from that. These four handsome fellows, um, they are the pillars. They were what make up IronVerse Comics and all they're the antagonists, sure, but they're antagonists almost in the same way nature is an antagonist, more so than an actual direct antagonist. It's something that is just so powerful that you have to contend with. That sets up basically everything, and of course the Four Horsemen. Uh, it's hard for me to adequately express why I'm doing Ironverse Comics. And maybe that would help you folks get on the bandwagon if I could accurately pinpoint it. The biggest bit was when I started was just to create. I didn't have any creative outlets, and the ones I did, um, eh. So I started writing. Jack was one of the first things that hooked me, and the more I thought about it, the more I wanted to make my own universe like that, my own, particularly in comics. I wanted to make something that hadn't been seen before, that respects what came before, and not just in comics, but respects what came before in art and philosophy and human fucking existence. um, and filter that through visuals that allow you to take it in on a lighter note so that you can digest it before it hits you. Because a lot of the stuff in life you don't get a chance to digest before it hits you really hard. And one of the things I'm trying to explore with Jack in particular is that state, that existing as that. And again, it resonates throughout all of IronVerse comics. It's a large bit of that. With Cactus Coyote, sure it comes off goofier, but that's not even goofier. I don't know what to call it. It's a different personality going through the same universe with different troubles, but it's still an exploration of a person, a being going through those things. And again, it's very hard to pinpoint because it's a wide net. We're purposely, I'm purposely casting a wide net, and I'm very lucky that all of Team Harvard Comics seems to be on board with the net. But we're putting a Mad Max cowboy suit on uh, exploring psychology through a One Piece kind of adventure. That's IronVerse Comics. That's what you'll be funding. And with campaigns, it takes a good 2 months out of your life. And if you fail, then you're back to ground zero. You got to start again. You got to rebuild. Like I said, ground zero too, because you got to pick up all the gnarly shit left behind, which they're not too much with Jack and Cactus really, but there can be because of the feeling of maybe inadequacy or failure. But you get over that quick if you want to get things done. I'll tell you that much. There's so much planned here. Campaigning takes too much energy out of where it could be better spent. Not only does would this provide security, but it would also provide the ability to put the energy properly, put it where it needs to go, to script writing, to crossovers, to whatever we want to do in the future with this, with these wonderful talents we're working with, the incredible support we've gotten, and with the one of the most niche genres in comics. I want to make it impossible to think of the Weird Space West without IronVerse Comics. And you would think that that would be too hard, but hell, even The Mandalorian has come in and has been adding to the Space Western. It's a competitive it's a competitive niche. But we've got a way about it. We've got a path through it nobody else is going to take. And it is so good. But yeah, let me see. I never checked chat. I don't really think anybody would have shown up for this weird one, but maybe, maybe. Oh, look at that, Gorgonite showed up. Yeah, good to see you, Gorgonite. Yeah, I'm just doing a quick overview of why this is the way. Even if you're not a fan of Patreon, we have a Subscribe Star, and if we had enough people on Subscribe Star, I'd move on over there. It doesn't have the back end that Patreon does, which is very helpful. You know, collecting addresses, seeing who got what, where, all those things. Subscribe Star doesn't have any of that. So if you really just want to help us make, and you hate Patreon, we can still find a way to get you some cool stuff through Subscribe Star. But the main goal is just some way to get a consistent cash flow so I can pay these incredible talents again and again and again to do what they are doing, to put out this amazing work. And my goal, you know, is to reward you folks for helping me to do that. Again, our first goal here, which we're about a third of the way through. Everybody who's backing at 15 or higher, I'll be getting you merch every month. It's gonna be a different thing every month. There's gonna be a different value to it every month, but I can get you something every month. But I want to have enough interest to be worth my time to do it. Which at this level, it just means 10 people. You know, I can do that a month easy. I just gotta wait for the money to come in from you folks, and then I just put that into there and send you your merch. Not hard at all. I'd love to be able to do that because I think if I can offer that stuff, then at least people might come in and actually back because they're getting something physical in return. At the moment, all you're getting is content, and access to content that other IronVerse Comics fans don't have access to, which is great. Absolutely great. You're also getting put in the back of issue number 3. You're getting to look at a lot of other stuff at the higher levels. We'll get something very cool to our books. You know, an OC or maybe an image of yourself or whatever. A name on a casino like we were doing with the Cactus Coyote campaign. We actually have all the setup for poker chips to go with Cactus Coyote. Um, we've got the footing, just don't have the power and energy. And yeah, that's the main reason. I would rather have you know the power and energy through this instead of having to fight for it, wrestle it to the ground, and then use it through campaigning. Uh, but you know, I'll do what I have to do to get these books out. But this is the best way, folks. The best way. So please consider it. Thank you so much for your time. Uh, Probably going to call this one real quick, but we definitely it doesn't take much. I mean, $1 a month. If we can get this up to 45, if we get this up to 50 a month, it'll make a big difference. But dollar of the month, you get in our Discord, which is it's a well-featured Discord. It's just very quiet, but it's got plenty of features and just waiting for somebody to come in there and make it loud so that we have to pay attention to it. um, you'll this is the part that we're hurting. Right now, Patreon exclusive content is defined as a free shipping code, exclusive roles on our Discord, access to Cactus Coyote's manga in HD and actually lined up real nice, um, access to all the concept stuff for all the IronVerse tales, and access to the IronVerse Compendium, which is full of spoilers, but also is basically our Wikipedia for the IronVerse. I mean, that's more than I was thinking when I started saying this, but the polls and links, I haven't really done much. The links, yes. Polls, I haven't really asked because it's a tiny little sample size. It's hard to poll here. You can just poll on Twitter where I have 3,000 in front of that number, just to get more data. So I feel bad about that, but it's how it goes. Also, if you're in our Discord and you create comics, for instance, I would be happy to set up interviews to talk about creating comics. I'd be happy to answer any and all questions at any time. I want to provide you value. And that's just at $1. I want to provide you value. The further you go, the better I want to. For this price of $5 a month, you'll get your name in the back of number 3. You just got to set up that page. Didn't do that with issue 1 and 2 again because there wasn't enough. Here, I'll get you a follow wherever you'd like, and everything before. Here, you'll get to see the other kind of more crazy stuff we're doing. Which actually these two are in progress, and they're further along than you'd think. At this level, this would be the kind of the level I'd want to do the interviews and anything like that at. And this one we'll draw you in. We'll go ahead and draw you in. But we've done a lot, folks. IronVerse Comics isn't it's an underdog, but it's in the fight. I'll tell you that. I'll tell you that. Well, that kind of about says. I mean, I could talk more about the negatives with campaigning because there's a couple positives too. People like getting on the hype train on a campaign, and you get this big kind of interaction because people putting their money down, so they have this. They want you to succeed. You trade that forward momentum, that possible forward momentum, for security with like a Patreon setup. And I would much rather have security at this point. We made our gamble. I first lost it, then I won it, and then Dollar Coins made his gamble, and together we played it, and it got as far as I got, which was further than a lot of comics coming out of nowhere get. And that's what Cactus Coyote was doing. But the gamble we won on was big enough that I think we can continue to capitalize on it, and I'd rather not have to go to that table again. Though we're going to have to. Jack Irons number 3 is going to be a campaign. I don't see any way around that unless somehow this exploded. I don't see that happening soon, anyway. But after number 3, particularly if we do not get funded, which is 100% a possibility, we're going to really have to rethink things. I'm hoping with number 3 and reprinting 1 and 2 again, and maybe we'll get enough to actually make 3 and 4, which would be huge. Hopefully be better profits on this too, so I can invest further into it. But yeah. So Jack Irons number 3 is a campaign. You folks are going to be familiar with it, but the whole time between all this, Patreon's the goal. It's the end game. It's what we need. We need this monthly security so I can lock down artists, get them a paycheck, and consistently produce content and give you guys the best of the weird space west and shove the frontier back into the final frontier. I guess I'll end there. It's a good one. I'll leave 3 minutes for Q&A. I think. What are we at? 2 minutes for Q&A. So if there's any questions in chat, now's your time, folks. You're not going to get another chance till the comments, which if you got this far, please go ahead and leave a comment down below if you have any further questions. I will certainly answer them. Any questions about crowdfunding from either version, Patreon or uh, classical like Kickstarter or Indiegogo, um, I'd be happy to answer. I know much more about Indiegogo than I know about any of the other things I just said, but that's where it's at. Please feel free. Anything below. Always leave comments. I appreciate them greatly. And let's see. Let's see. Has my mic been on? That's always a good check, and it has. All right. Calling me a Zoomber. That's an ageist slur, good sir. I would advise you not to assume my age, good sir. No. Thank you for showing up, Gorgon. I always appreciate it very much. It means a lot to have just any kind of interaction there. And the Gorgonites will definitely make an appearance in the IronVerse. Just waiting for the perfect moment to strike. Right on, dude. Right on. I'd like to see. Because always open. Always open to leaving the doors of the IronVerse open and seeing what can be done. All right, folks. I'm Cody with IronVerse Comics. This has been Why I'd Like to Fund Through Subscription Instead of Campaigning by Cody Fernandez, creator of Jack Irons, The Steel Cowboy, and IronVerse Comics. I'll see you on that old, rusty IronVerse Comics trail. Thank you so much. Oh, Gorgonite, your timing. I had just got. I enjoyed that sign off, but I will not leave a man hanging. Gorgonite Emissary says, since I'm part of the Mythoverse and inevitably going to have the talk with Wicked, do you have any advice for me who knows jack shit about that? I want to knowing jack shit. Make sure you know the value of your work. Make sure you understand what you're signing. They're good kids. They're good. They're good guys. I'm ecstatic to have worked with them so far. There's been plenty of speed bumps. That's going to happen with anything. The main point is that it's getting done and has been gotten done again and again. That's reliability. That's what matters to me. But in terms of what you're signing, that's always between you and them. Any third party doesn't have much to say on that. If you had your druthers and and all the money in the world, you have a lawyer look at it, make sure. I spent a couple months haggling back and forth on the contract I have with them, and I still lost a little bit, but I gained a lot. And most of the things I was haggling, just making sure that the protections or the things that could trigger bad things went both ways. Um, and I think that contract I haggled out with them became part of a basis for what everybody else in Wicked's signing, which is kind of neat. But I can't speak 100% on that. I haven't seen anybody else's contracts. Not that cool to do that unless you really have questions. But just feel comfortable. If you don't feel comfortable, don't fucking do it. It's kind of that simple. Um, with IronVerse Comics, we were not looking to have Cactus Coyote published by Wicked, simply because we wanted to see if we could do it ourselves. We didn't get the chance to see if we did because we didn't fund, but that was part of it. We wanted to see if we could do it ourselves, and so now we got out of that campaign with an ash can that's good for pitching to anybody. Um, Wicked's always on the table, though. My brothers and I most likely am going to get most everything published through them, but got to leave doors open. And Dollar Coins has different thoughts about how he wants to handle his IP, Cactus Coyote, within IronVerse and how he wants to do it. And it kind of fits into how I wanted to do IronVerse Comics too. So play your game. Don't play their game. And if somebody's forcing you to play their game, then make sure you're comfortable with it. If not, then don't do that. That's my answer for you, Gorgonite. And for you folks who stayed to this Q&A, I hope that's helpful. I'm going to leave it for another 2 minutes, so we got a nice round 35 live. And then I'm gonna call it. So Gordon, if you got another question, go ahead. I'll go ahead and answer it. Otherwise, use this time again to thank everybody who participates in IronVerse Comics. You're all part of Team IronVerse Comics. Everybody who shares, likes, interacts, reads, um, looks our general direction. Thank you so very much. It means the world. All right. Well, if Gorgonite's done, I can call it a little early. We got a minute there. Um, Again, I'm Cody Fernandez, uh, editor in IronVerse Comics, creator of Jack Irons, the Steel Cowboy, uh, writer of the best of the Weird Space West, and doing my best to put the frontier back into the final frontier. I will see you folks on that rusty IronVerse Comics trail. You guys have a wonderful week. Take care, folks.